know exactly how many people are going to hop on here, and that's okay. What we were really hoping to do is sit down with like 3 to 5 people who have been in the real estate landscape for a while and just really kind of pick your brains on the tools you're using, kind of what you're seeing the market, like the main questions are in the market right now, and give us just a little bit of wisdom that you have on the current landscape of things. And then we're excited to really kind of pull up Jauntboards and explore what this might look like in your space. We early on when we were doing some fundraising in our angel round, there's a woman here in Nashville named Wendy Monday. I don't know if she'll be on here today or not, but she saw this tool and was immediately like, oh my gosh, this solves so many problems for me in my real estate business, and wanted to invest. And she pulled in her some of her team to come in, and they invested too. And so we really haven't done a ton of due diligence other than this little network here in Nashville as to how this tool might be able to be useful in the space. So there's no I think the most important thing to know is there's no pressure to make us feel good about this tool being valuable for you guys. In fact, the most helpful thing is to know where it's not, and if it's not at all, because then that'll help us focus on other markets. But we did want to pull in some people who have a lot of expertise and who are really good at just kind of brainstorming and ideating to help us imagine the potential here if there is any. So that's like the most important thing, permission to be as brutally honest with us as possible, and also to kind of get creative and explore. Is there anything else that you would add, Fletcher?
No, I love that. Yeah, I think it's really about looking at this industry. I do feel like there's going to just be a common theme because Jauntboards is about creating an amazing customer experience, and I feel like that'll resonate with you guys in your space, where especially when there's processes maybe that are really standard, when you offer an exceptional customer experience, I feel like you're gonna you'll do better, and your business will do better. So it'll be fun to just explore that and see if Jauntboards helps do that for you as well.
Cool. Any thoughts or questions, or are we good to hop in? Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe before we dive into the landscape, just some quick introductions, because I know a couple of you, but not everyone. We can start on our team, and then we'll go around to you, Maggie and Brittany and Matt. And if Madison's able to hop in here too, we'll let her in. I'll go ahead and get started. My name is Nicole Ayers. I am one of the co-founders of Jauntboards. I've historically been in marketing. I've been working with a lot of bigger brands, helping them tell stories and create campaigns. I started my own independent agency 5 years ago, and teamed up with Fletcher about 10 or so months ago to start building this tool to help our company. Hey, Wendy, we were just talking about you. Hey, just doing some quick intros. Started building this tool to really help our independent business scale, and we realized, man, this is actually a tool that could be valuable for a lot of different companies, we think. So we are in our early stages of getting this out live in the market. It's been live for like a week or two, and now we're having conversations with all types of industries to really explore its potential. You want to say hi, Fletcher?
Yeah, I'm Fletcher, the other founder of Jauntboards. I've been doing digital product design for like 15 years and have done it for 44% of the Fortune 50. So huge swath of just like all types of products and services. And to that point, I think where we all kind of congeal together today is just creating an experience for people who are willing to take a risk and trust me with doing something for them, right? And in my case, it's building them a product. They're risking getting in my car and hoping that I'm going to get them to the destination they set out, right? And I think in your guys' case, it's help me buy or sell a house. I've never done it before. I'm going to get in your car. You're going to take me to that end destination. And so I just realized I'm just such a lover of user experience, right? Not just for like if I'm building a product for the end user, but just for even the people and the team that's involved in getting there at the end of the day. And so, yeah, that's what I love to do. That's what I've done for most of my life. James.
Hi, I'm clicking all the wrong buttons. Hi, I'm James Webb. My current job at Jauntboards is just strategic partnerships and getting people like you into a room and a container like this. So I'm glad that we're all talking. Beyond that, I do a little bit of everything. I help where I can, but I really I live and breathe the freelancer lifestyle personally, which is kind of a nice segue into like what Jauntboards is building and like truly helping the freelancer and like the independent. So I have like a real passion for that world. So the fact that there's a technology that's pushing that along is like dream job for me. It's great. And I know most of you. I think I've met most of you.
Yeah. So we have a couple investors on the call. Tee them up, and then Wendy, you want to say hi and tell everybody who you are and what you do real quick?
Hi, I think I know Maggie. Hi guys. My name's Wendy Monday. I'm a real estate broker with Parks and a big believer in Jauntboards. So that
Awesome.
kind of sums up.
Thank you. Matt?
Hi, everybody. I'm Matt Tomlinson. I am a real estate broker in Maryland. Been in the real estate world for about 15 or 18 years. Met Nicole some years back and have been watching that creative entrepreneurial brain just do amazing things. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
Awesome. Maggie?
Hi, I'm Maggie Bond, and I am with a realtor with Parks, and have been in the marketing advertising world here in Nashville for a couple of decades until I got into real estate about 8 years ago. So all the digital platforms and CRMs and all those things many of them have passed through my life. So I'm excited to see something fresh, and whatever is happening here, it just seems like a great group of people that I want to learn and see what you're getting into. And if it has Wendy's blessing, I'm probably going to pull up and say, tell me more. So glad to be here.
Amazing. And Brittany?
Hey, I agree with Maggie. I'm also a realtor here at Parks in Nashville and have been in real estate for coming up on 5 years now. Before that was a news anchor here in Nashville, and then have worked with James on a couple of his other projects. So he gave me kind of a quick brief overview of Jauntboards, a couple of weeks ago now. And it's awesome. So I'm excited to learn more about it. I really do think that it can help us in the real estate world, and I'm excited to talk about it today.
Nice. Awesome. Glad to have you guys here.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Well, Fletcher, why don't you go ahead and get us started?
Yeah.
To get into and understand from these people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think I'd like to hear just kind of roundtable. You've all grown and kind of grown your real estate industry, you've scaled your business. I'm just curious if we want to go around in the same order you guys introduced yourself. But maybe a few of the moments as you were scaling and growing, some of the challenges you had to face going through maybe whatever you sold your first year to your fifth year to whatever year you're at now. And challenges, maybe it comes out as words of wisdom to people who are scaling as well. But I'm just really curious to zero in on what issues you faced when you were scaling your industry in.
I'll start if that's appropriate. The issue that I have is there's just this much time, but there's this much complexity with the process, and so there are a lot of tools out there that you can use, like CRMs and things like that. But what I need is something process oriented that kind of helps me show the client where they are in the transaction without just bogging them down with a bunch of emails. And that's something I'm really looking for, to say, like, you've made these milestones. These are the milestones you have left. But it's not just a text. It's not, or just not a text in an email. It's not just a PDF I send. There's something that they go to and see that. And you would think there would be a product like that. And maybe there already is, and I haven't ever found it. But there's just a lot of opacity, like, about the real estate transaction in general. And if you're not the agent, and you're just the consumer, you don't know what's going on necessarily. And you need to be able to at least go in and see on some sort of platform where you stand in the transaction. And I don't have that to show anybody.
Yeah. And Wendy, that's interesting. You're talking about like kind of proactive communication. But I feel like that, especially in something like real estate where there's so many steps, that's like at one point it's going to be like, 5 emails a day or something, and it just gets completely lost. Like if your notification basically to your client is pushed out to them, I feel like they'll drown in, updates. So that is interesting that they're having like a passive spot where they can actually like continue to go to read like where they're at in the process. Makes it a little bit more manageable. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and I have it with my title partner. Like they have a portal that I go into, and I
Right.
can see the things that they're handling. But there's just a ton more moving parts on our end as the real estate agent. And so I don't have that. I was even using a portal for my son's pediatrician today, and I was like, oh, this is nice. I can see everything I've ever sent him, and I see it all in one place on my phone, and I need that.
Is anyone else aware of a tool that does this? Or have you not come across anything?
Wendy, you might remember this. We were like a little skim pitch about a month or two ago about a product that's coming around.
Yeah.
That is basically a platform that will help us show our value to our buyers or all clients, but specifically buyers, given there's a whole situation going on in the landscape of real estate with that. But I don't remember the name of it, and I don't know that it's actually been launched, but we can find out and get back to you guys. But back to what Wendy is saying, and just to further, I think, support what you guys are trying to do, I feel like when I talk to a lot of prospective clients, whether they're buyers or sellers, I have a checklist of sorts of all the different things that I'm doing, and it's like 1,000 things, right? They may only really know of 50. They may never really hear or see or feel touched by the other whatever, which is great. Some people just want to go, I trust you, just take care of it. But I think it's back to building value, and for the people who want to know what's going on and giving them, like you said, a passive place to check in and go, okay, this is done. I don't have to worry about that. Okay, Maggie's done this, or Wendy, Brittany's done this. Great. Or they need this from me and I haven't gotten it done. Surely that we will have communicated that to them. But I'm very intrigued by that whole, the transparency of these are all the things that we're doing for you and to help this move along. But I don't know what the name of that.
I don't remember either, Maggie. And it was something that Fletcher and Nicole, something our company, the leadership of our company had decided to invest in to show like some transparency about every step along the way. What it didn't do was what I want it to do is what I hope Jauntboard does, which is to say to the client, it wasn't client facing in that like, I'm leading you through this transaction. It was more kind of like if you were an attorney and you were billing by the hour and you were documenting everything that you did so that your time at the end of the transaction or at the end of the case was documented and then you could bill. It was more like that. It's like,
I think so too. It's like time miner.
Yeah. Hey, I drove and I did this many showings. Hey, I did this. It was more of documenting your time, and it was more an agent product. And I'm thinking of this as a customer product.
I think.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I agree. I mean, I know the product that we're talking about, and I do think it was more of a, hey, here's how we work for you each hour of the day, and kind of proving that you actually do more than just put a sign in the yard. For me, Jauntboards is really like, we're all busy. We're all crazy. For instance, this morning, I just sent a next steps email to my clients just saying, hey, we need to do earnest money. We need to do inspections. These are the dates for that. I know that's going to get bogged down and that's going to get lost in the email chain, a couple weeks from now, and they're going to be asking me again, and that's fine. So to me, Jauntboards is like, if they get home, the husband and wife are talking 9 o'clock at night, and they're like, where do we go from here? What's the next step? We don't want to bug Brittany. It's 9 p.m., whatever. They can go into that and see, okay, we've made it to this point. This is where we have to go. This is what we're looking at. Maybe we can upload the inspection report, things like that. And be able to go back to it without having to go through the millions of emails that I know we all get every day. So to me, I agree. I think the other product we're talking about is really like, look, we're actually working and we do a lot. I think this does expand upon that to really show everything that we do for the client, but also as a resource for the client to say, here's where we're at, and these are the things we need to be thinking about, and these are all of the aspects to the transaction, and it's readily available in an easy format.
Yeah, I love that too, because it's not as simple as like, now it's time to do inspections, right? Because they're going to have 10 more questions for you. Like, well, who do you know and trust? Who should I be calling to do this thing? You know, and so it just turns into an infinite amount of new jobs that you need to be doing to help them accomplish a goal that ultimately they should be doing themselves. So the ability to build out a jaunt board and say, this is the milestone we're at, but here's, you know, you have the freedom to work with anyone, but here's the people that I know and I've used and I recommend, and it's all right here, so you can avoid that text back and forth or that email chain. That's of value to you guys. That helps save a ton of time.
Yeah. And also, it's this very high consequence transaction, but it happens in a like kind of relatively blinding fast pace. Like you make this huge investment and you have 7 days to have it inspected, 10 days to have it inspected. You're going to be closed and own the house in 30.
Yeah.
Like that's a giant deal. And there's just a lot of communication. I'm on the other side of it right now because we've bought and we are renting some commercial space right now. So I'm the client and I have agent, like my husband is more in charge of the commercial spaces, but I'm copied on all the emails. And it is remarkable how little I engage in it because I'm like, seems like it's a morass of emails. I hope he answered that and knows what's going on. Are we leased? Did somebody pay us money? You know, like that's, I honestly do. I'm like, I have too many other real estate things to think about. So I would like to like pop into a portal, see where we are.
Yeah.
Pop out. That's what I want.
I love that. I love that. I mean, that view does so many things. Like you're saying, it's like, yeah, it helps you give some line of sight, like, or it helps the client, the buyer, understand where the heck they are. We talked a little bit about trust in general, and it feels like sometimes trust is an exchange that happens before you get started, because it's like, okay, now I just need you to trust me because I'm going to do a lot of stuff and I don't want to tell you everything I'm doing, or I'll try my best to tell you all about it. But to have that line of sight, I mean, I know my wife trusts me, but she still drives for me when she's the passenger. You know, it's like she doesn't just close her eyes and trust me as I drive. It's like she wants to kind of participate in the experience as we're going through. And so having a place where you have line of sight, I think it is a tool to continue to foster trust, you know, with clients, which is just so important. I think also in the law, especially when it comes to referrals, right? I am curious, in your line of work, is referrals the highest? Is that the way you guys get most of your clients?
Yes.
Best way.
So then trust is such a critical foundation, right? Because if they trust and see like your expertise as it's at work, then then they actually have like words even on how they refer to you. It's like, it's not just like, oh yeah, you know, Maggie did a great job. I don't know what she did, but it was amazing and I closed. Like that's nice.
She did.
But if it's like, man, she did all these things so quickly, or even a way that they could show other people, like, yeah, this is what we did. That could be really powerful because obviously it would help enhance where you're getting most of your leads anyway through referrals.
Well, also you'll have it forever, and you'll always be able to log in and see all the documents that go along with it. You know, you need your closing statement when you do your taxes. You might need your inspection report when you go to relist, you know, things like that. So it's nice for it to be stored somewhere. My question about how to make that work is like in Jauntboards, do we set up a separate one for each client? And then how does that, you know, like, is that their Jauntboard and do we give them access?
Yeah.
Can you walk me through that a little bit? Like, does everybody have their own little, like,
yeah, actually I could,
my Jauntboards?
if you want, I could transition tour it for a little bit and then we can come back and continue to do a round table. So let me start by just showing kind of the client view. I think that'll help ground everyone and how the product, you know, works and operates a little bit. So are you guys seeing that? This is Wendy's design. All right, let me try that again then. 1 sec. How's that?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, awesome. So this jauntboards.app/Wendy Monday is the place where this is way before, you know, you start actually working with someone. And this is something you can share out where they can, maybe you could think of it as kind of like a sibling to your website. It's just a place where you can build trust. People can understand what you offer, what you do, as well as what we're going to talk about here in a second. Maybe even offer guides so they can do it on their own. This is that exchange of trust right at the beginning that you guys are already doing, but this just helps facilitate that a little bit. So here you can see Windy Monday, and again, this is all just, we're just getting started building this out, so this will continue to grow. But we have a few different guides here. We have, rent out your house and buy a new one, the seller's guide, and the buyer's guide. So let's click into a seller's guide. Again, we're just viewing as a potential client, right? They're just curious about Windy Monday. They're looking at our website, probably her LinkedIn. And then this is a nice addition to that where they can see, okay, this is the work we're going to do, right? We're going to do some preparation, define your goals, assemble documents. They can click into these, kind of read about them. We're going to do a home inspection. You could even link out to maybe your favorite inspectors or whatever. You're going to do property enhancement. All these items, you're basically showing them and not telling them, right? You're just showing them exactly what you're going to do, the things that happen. You kind of get to do a bit of a flex here, right? Which is like showing off the complexity of what exists, and yet you make it so simple. And Wendy, I know you've already had success with this concept on your current website where you've had like a buyer's and seller's guide, and people were like, love it, right? They eat it up. So this basically kind of elevates that. This is that on steroids. It's just like a real simple linear way to see something that's very complicated, as well as even maybe see, example links of like, what does it look like when you do a buyer's inspection, right? They could open up and see an old one, right, that you did. So they kind of get a sense of like what each step is going to do, what the output will look like. And then if they're interested, you can kind of add a link at the bottom, which is, to contact you, book a one-on-one, or email me. So I'll kind of pause there. Does that make sense so far? This is a nice way to just sort of showcase what you're going to go into, build that trust, show them like how you attack it, maybe even, unique things that you do that maybe other agents don't do, that kind of adds some more, unique flair to your process.
Yeah, and I would add to that too. It can be as lo-fi as what he just showed you. Like, here's an example of someone else.
Right.
Or it could be as hi-fi. I like, Wendy, I know you're also a YouTube creator and you're making a bunch of Instagram story content. So this could also be a really nice guide for you in your own content strategy, showing up on social media, to just take a moment, talk about this thing, educate, build some trust, and then just take that link from YouTube and put it right in here too. Maybe have a feature video at the top where you're like, hey, I'm Wendy. I've sold this many houses, whatever you want that experience to be. And it all kind of can be this really nice ecosystem before they ever reach out to you. They've already learned from you. They've got a sense of your personality. They feel really good about hiring you.
Mm-hmm. What I really want is to have this and actually finish it. And I realize that's on me. I want to finish it, and then I want to have videos on Instagram, or Instagram in particular, and then say comment seller, and you comment seller, and this goes to you, and I never touch it.
Yep.
So I've got that piece going. I just need this to be done, and I can bring those two things together.
And what's also interesting here, so the normal way you guys make money, obviously, is someone looks at this, they get their trust, they reach out to you, and then you start this journey. We're going to look at that in a second. And Wendy, it'll answer your question too, as far as like, does every client have a Jauntboard? They do, and we'll see what that looks like. But one other way that Jauntboards helps, we had this one that we had talked about. We did a hibachi design session with Wendy a while ago, but rent out your house and buy a new one. So let's click into this one. Again, we're viewing this as the audience, right? So we're just looking at this. So you can actually gate your content as well. So here you can see the titles of them. You can even see that there's links on each of these. You could still watch the video at the top, and you have the call to action at the bottom. But this is something where they can actually unlock, like if they're interested and they're intending to do this on their own, you can actually unlock it. In this case, we have unlock it with an email, but you can actually pay gate that as well. So they could pay, $200 to get your guide on exactly how to, go through step by step on how to rent out your house and buy a new one. And this really goes to Nicole's point, where these links, aren't just like example links or out to like other things, but these could actually be like high res, like quality content on like each step. Like, okay, now you're going to move in, you're going to get pre-approval. This is why you're going to get the equity out of your house before you, sell your house, and you can actually like kind of speak to each of those. So this provides a ton of value to people that maybe you don't have to offer the service at the end of the day. They actually can pay you, or at the very least, you can begin to create an email list of people that have trusted you. And that means that they're set up, right? If you know that someone unlocked this with an email, well, that's a warm lead. Essentially, you know that they're looking to do a number of things, and now you can make a much more strategic outbound, campaign and actually get them interested and maybe like service them in the future as well. So there is this opportunity as well to gate your boards and kind of package up the industry knowledge you have in specific nascent ways and let people unlock and actually kind of build an audience around that.
Yeah, and to that I would add, obviously you can gate content for prospective clients of yours, but if you've been in the industry for 15 years and you've got an entire city looking to lend you money, it's like, what kind of guides could you create even for new realtors who are looking to learn from you? And could creating those courses become a passive income for you? You invest, a limited amount of time, you build it out and then turn it on and it starts to make you money. And maybe even trains your own team, It's like, how do you build this team, but also everybody, and then just start making money from it? That's an interesting.
I made my first $100 from YouTube this week, so I'm
Nice.
really starting.
Good job.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
it was exciting.
Okay, cool. So you can kind of see this is a client experience before they've actually engaged with you, but you can see there's opportunity. I love what Nicole mentioned here too. Like, we are looking at from the client side, but when it comes to scaling you, like, what better tool is there to show someone, well, this is how we do it, right? And this is exactly the way I'm expecting you to do it as well, with talking points along the way. So this can also be a really good internal tool as you scale your company and hire new people, so they have access to understand what your processes are. So with that said, actually, Nicole, if you have any other input, I'm going to switch my screen. I'm going to share what it looks like to your view, and we can kind of talk through that.
No, you're good.
Cool. All right. All right, you guys seeing that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So essentially, this is your view. So this is how you're going to create those boards in the first place. This is how you're going to add them to the public view. This is where you're going to gate your content. This is where you're going to create new potential. If a client actually wants to buy or sell their house, this is how you're going to do that work. So first off, you can kind of create your drafts and work on those. It's fairly simple. You just, create a new shell, and then you start building out your milestones and phases really quick, and then you move them over to your real estate. So in this case, we're using this real estate drop spot, and that's the view you guys had before, right? Viewing these 3 different boards. Mm-hmm. If we jump into one of these, so look at the seller guide.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Are these templates, are these graphics provided, or is that something that you tweak, or you have to have someone go and do the stock photos? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, you can, it's certainly it's available for you to just upload and make them, but definitely reach out to us if you need support. If you feel like that's something that you'd love support on. We'd love to see you, if you're going to use this platform, we'd love to see you successful, and creating those assets could be something we can do for you as well.
Yeah, I think as our product matures, we'll be able to pull in a source where you can kind of pick an image or something. But right now, it's either an image or images. It's a carousel, or if you wanted to input a custom video where you're actually teeing up what someone could expect in this experience, you could include that as well.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's say basically you wanted to kick this off. So you have someone who actually wants to sell their house. Basically, you'd start that as a project. You'd put in the details here, and then I'm actually going to switch my screen again to show you. Actually, no, let's jump straight to someone. So we've done that here for the Smiths, let's say. So here is the Smiths. They're selling 220 Corner Lane, and basically this is it takes that whole template and then turns it into an active project, right? An active sale. And so here we can see We've already worked through this a little bit. We completed the goals, and we actually have, you know, a link out to the Smith's goals. So this is that place where passively you can actually let the your clients have access to this link, and then they can see the progress that's being made as they work through that template, right? That you're actually assisting them through. So you can see we're about whatever, you know, 20% done. There's a few things here we've, you know, decided to skip a property enhancement or skip the curb appeal. We did, you know, you guys sat down and did a pricing strategy that's been approved. A link out to what your pricing strategy is. You've done your pre-listing and your listing creation. Again, links straight to those where those listings exist. And then the marketing plan has been locked, and now you're going into showings and open houses, right? So, and again, there could be documents or descriptions about what to expect during that phase. But this is your portal. So you can, as you're working through this, you would just go through as these, you know, complete, you'd hit completed. And then as you move in and start being in progress on some of these, you'd switch their status to in progress. This is your dashboard. And on the other side, the client is getting it up to date. They actually don't even have to refresh, but they're seeing literally exactly links that you're adding, or, you know, where they're at in the status. And they have a dashboard where they can watch the progress through this exact journey.
And can you kind of tweak, like, I love this, but for earnest money, since you're taking it and copying it from what was on the homepage, you can add a link. Can you add a note or something saying, okay, earnest money is in progress, due by whatever the date may be, or something like that?
You can. So you can still, I just changed into edit mode. So you still have full access to go in, make any tweaks you want to. You know, you can edit this milestone. Yeah, add in like due by whatever, you know, January 1st. And all those updates, again, will be viewed. The client will see all that stuff happening. You can also like add new steps. Let's say for them, something unique came up. So you can create a new, you know, unique step here. You can, you know, rearrange those. You can actually rearrange full, like, you know, phases and stuff like that. So you can kind of continue to tweak and customize based off that template, but it helps you get that boilerplate kicked off right away. And then you add on the, you know, whatever is unique to that client.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and as far as what you can attach, it can be anything that exists on the internet as a link. So if you've got a Google Doc or a Google form, you know, how do you want to intake their goals? You know, like you get to decide what that is. As long as there's a link, you can attach it. You don't have to be like Wendy and create all of your content walking people through what to expect. If there's a really good YouTube video that explains what an appraisal is and what to expect, great, just link to that YouTube video. Anything, you know, it can be exactly how you need it to be, and you can get it start. I think about just like done is better than perfect, and over time, if you want to create your own content and really make this super hi-fi and polished, then just go in and update those links over time.
And then I just clicked over to the to what the client sees specifically. So this is that client view. It's super clean. There's actually not even, you know, there's nothing even on the top except their name. So it's such a shareable experience where they can go in, like you're saying, at 9 o'clock at night, and they can view, okay, where are we at? What do we need to upload? What's due for us? What's coming up, right? Like for me, I know when I've bought a few houses, I was always thinking like, okay, I've done a lot of work now, but what else is in front of us before we actually, you know, do the handover and key exchange, right? And this is a great place to passively, not like hound them with emails and stuff like that, but let them explore as they are ready to intake that information.
And how is it updating the clients? Are they getting an email? Are they getting a push notification? Like, how is it getting updated that, hey, we've moved to the next step?
So that's a great point. So at the moment, it's we're not emailing anything. We don't have notifications set up yet. However, there will absolutely be a place where we'll do end of the week. You can actually basically customize like how you want it to be notified, but they'll get an email that shows what milestones have been completed, what milestones are coming up, as well as links to those as well. So it'll actually be pushed to their inbox at whatever cadence you're looking for.
So I guess in the meantime, you can just send over, like on Friday or something, a link to their job board and say, hey, here's just a recap of what's been going on this week and what's to come.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, but soon that'll be automated. Exactly.
Fletcher, how do you deal with if-then situations, right? Say like an appraisal comes back and it comes back right on spot, we just move forward. If
Yep.
it doesn't, then how do you
Yep,
handle something like
absolutely.
that?
So we don't have if-then sophistication yet. We actually are intending to build out magic milestones. So we'll be able to do some really cool integrations, like actually automating certain events to happen if this one doesn't. But at the moment, the way that we're expecting that is to really like go through, and when you're building out the template, to make some of them either optional or required. That in general just means like, okay, if it's optional, then that means that something before is going to determine if we're going to actually do that step or not. So that way, when the client's viewing that, even here, they can see that the buyer inspection is optional, right? But the offer is absolutely required. And so some of these, at least the status for now, should help suggest that. But we are definitely intending to build out a really robust marketplace that lets you kind of create magic milestones, and that'll have some cool contingency work on it. Great question.
So what happens, show us what happens. Let's say we've completed everything. I now own my home. The project is over.
Mm-hmm.
To Wendy's point, it's like, what's cool is it serves as a single place that, at the end of the year, I can go back to and find the things that I need for tax season or whatever. Can you kind of show what that experience would look like? Yeah.
So a couple things. So one, obviously this board, actually the URL to this board, no matter what phase it's in. So if it's in if you're in the proposal or in an active project, or eventually what we'd call a case study, this URL never changes. So if they have that link, they will always have access to this this flow that they went through, which is really good. So years from now, they can come back and come to this. Also, just to let you guys know, we're actually enabling vanity URLs at the project level as well. So it won't even be a messy string. It'll be something they can remember. They can, they know it was Windy Monday, and then they know their name
or their address. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or their address. Exactly. But I want to speak to that for a second, because there's some security concerns too, like if that's just accessible to anyone. But there is actually, right now I have this set to anyone with a link, but actually I can also have this just only people invited to this Jauntboard. So then I can actually directly invite, John Smith at Gmail and Sarah Smith, and they're the only people that can come in and view this Jauntboard. So that there's no you're going to be uploading secure documents to this. And so keeping those secure is really important to the software as well. So you will have a gated experience, and we'll have a few options as well. At the moment, it's either shared only or public to open to the public. But we're also going to unlock so you can do password protected boards as well. So they don't need to be added to it. They just need to know the password to get in. But something that is interesting, and this is where we can really have an open discussion about the power of, if this makes sense for you. But you could also complete. So once you're done with this, you can actually complete and create a case study. And let me jump over and just look at one that's active. So you can see the Thompsons had a successful closing. So this changes the layout a little bit. We have this nice lockup at the top where you can see, your logo and then the who you worked for. And then you can have kind of images of the final sale or whatever the house was, and maybe a nice description of what happened. You can also upload a video. And then this is basically a dashboard where it lives on after you've done the active work, right? So if we open up the client view here, this is how the Thompsons would actually view it. They'd remember and see all of the work that happened before. The links would actually still be active here as well that they went through. So they can kind of use this as a point of reference to go back and find documents that had to do with that sale years later.
Well, are you looking to explore if that would be valuable? Like if a case study that is shareable is more
I think the language,
being able to visit the project you completed.
Yeah, essentially it's just ending and closing a project. It puts it into this closed stage. We're just calling it a case study because that's kind of what it is as well. It's just kind of showing off the work you did for the Thompsons, proving you've made it through your process. It was successful, and other people can repeat the same success that they had. But it also lives on as a central location for all the documents that you uploaded and work you did as you worked through that process.
I would imagine with all the documentation being so sensitive, I don't know. It would be hard for me to see how the real estate industry would use that as a case study. You'd have to delete a lot of things, or you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Absolutely.
I don't know, almost, or like I would almost use it as like if I was a content creator again, maybe like I'm here with, like I would be filming these milestones or something to showcase our chemistry and dynamic in those moments that we accomplished, maybe. But like that just feels potentially like a lot of extra work. That's my opinion. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know what you guys think, or if this even makes sense, what the difference between a case study and a completed project is.
I mean, I love just having the completed and just having it so people can check in at any point of the transaction and then have all of that once it's done. I mean, I think some people just like, I don't want to bug you. I don't know.
The thing about transactions is it's kind of like when you are working a job and then you think, when this is over, like when I quit this job, I'm going to tell them. And then you don't tell them because you realize the ramifications of that. It wouldn't be necessarily a case study where you could kind of go and like, here's what went wrong in this transaction. This is why you shouldn't do this as a seller, because then that seller will see that and like be like, I didn't know she didn't like that. I didn't do that. I think that all the time. Like I would love to make a video that was, please don't do these 4 things that just happened in this transaction. I can tell you exactly why. Because then that person will see it and they will not enjoy being singled out that way.
Fletcher, can we talk a little bit about what would be possible in the instance like someone goes to Matt, they're buying their first home, he helps them accomplish that goal, but down the line, Matt's hoping that when they go to sell that home, they also go back to Matt for that sort of thing, or if they want to get into commercial real estate or whatever those other services that he provides, like he wants to be top of mind.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, they can do what most people do, which is like, I'm just going to call Matt when I'm ready. But is there anything interesting that could be included at the end of a jaunt board to help funnel people into these other experiences, perhaps?
I love that. And obviously with the way the URL structure is even working, like it's going to be easy to go from their specific project, right, and go right back in and look at what other offerings you have. It's kind of like, it's like a business card that kind of walks with them during the sale. So I do love the fact that this, and even in my experience, I've noticed that when you do cross that chasm and they finally do trust you with whatever it is that they set out to do with you, they're usually curious what else you do. They're like, oh, I loved working with Maggie. I loved working with Brittany. What else can you help me do exactly? And then there's this opportunity to kind of soft sell you into your other expertise that you have. Like they didn't know that I mean, in your case, obviously, I was going to say like, oh, I didn't know you also, help me buy houses when you help me sell my house. I mean, people know that real estate agents do that, but
or like maybe you're an interior designer on the side too.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Maybe right. So now it doesn't have to be such a tunnel view. Like this is me as a realtor. This is me as a human being. I also like to help you decorate.
Yep.
Where I also do construction. I have a construction company. And if you need help making these renovations that the inspection, kicked up and you want to fix these things after you've bought the home, so, by the way, I do that too. That's kind of interesting.
So even to speak to that, so right now we have everything is stuck in this real estate grouping, right? So when they're viewing, your jaunt board homepage, it's just showing stuff under the real estate flag, right, that you do. But you can actually enable that here. You can click on this and you can say enable categories. And what this does is basically turns it into a few options here. So now we have like guides and residential services, or like what you were talking about, Nicole, like construction or something. You could add that as a new category. So now when I go back to my my index page, you actually get these tabs on it. And so now you can actually begin to categorize your jaunt boards or your offerings, your processes into these different arenas. Or maybe they were interested at first just on your residential services. And then they're like, oh, you also do construction. They click on that tab and then they see a bunch of offerings you do there too. So it helps you cross sell into, your other expertises.
Yeah, for me, it's like the verbiage I like to use for that is like, it's like my human journal. I'm just going to be like, here's all the things I'm either interested in or am doing for money. and I document it here, and then people can like access the brain. That's how over time I'm like wanting to use it. Yeah.
Yeah, what other questions do you guys have about this, or are there any ideas popping up in your head of like, oh, it'd be really cool to have a jaunt board about this topic or this thing? We'd just love to see where you guys are at right now.
I have a question. This is probably just semantics, but I'm assuming that if you have a transaction coordinator or a partner in real estate, that they could access, you have multiple people who have access to your account that can get in and upload and all that stuff, right?
Yep, absolutely. So here I am in your company settings. I went to the members tab, and you can add anyone else. They can be an owner, which has access to everything, creating and building everything and closing those out. You can also do a process admin, where they can just create boards. And you can also do team members, which they just can view. They can't actually edit those processes. So there's a few different levels of permissions that you can invite people into.
And
James
is it when, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Maggie.
When, say an agent is interested in using this, is it like a cost per transaction, or is it a subscription with unlimited access to the number of transactions they can set up? How is that going to fold out for people?
Yeah, as far as subscriptions to the product itself. So we have it as 3 tiers. It starts at free, and a free tier, you can build as many jaunt boards as you want. You can actually create this the public view with as many of these jaunt boards with the different boards themselves and templates, as well as gating it. You can add your paywall gate or whatever, and then you can actually create one active project at a time. So basically you can take that seller guide, turn it into the Thompsons like you saw, and actually work through that thing and then finish it out. And then that unlocks, one new space, and then you bring one more person through. So that's all on the free tier. So basically you can try it out. You can build and kind of document what your processes are, try it through an actual sale. And if it feels good and you're wanting to do things like, do that multiple times at once, so you probably are selling and buying all at the same time, that's when you move up to the $30 a month tier, and that unlocks 5 active projects at a time. And then finally the organization tier lets you have as many active projects as you want, so you can be putting a ton more throughput. And it also opens up the seats at the company settings, so you can add different members so that they can also be creating and helping edit and manage your boards.
And that's priced at $300 a month.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
I love it. I think it's great. I'm excited. Like I said, James had given me like a quick preview the other day, and now seeing it like actually in a real estate platform and way that we could use it, I'm excited about it, because I agree, Wendy. I feel the same. Like, I have a great portal for my doctor, or so many other things. We should have something like this, and this just seems so streamlined and simple, and that's all you need. It doesn't need to be super complex.
The value proposition of this to me is that every jaunt board can be customized to the specific transaction, and I'm not trying to squeeze, because they're all so different. They're all disparate.
Yep.
Some have HOAs, some don't. Some have, they're just a million different things that could be different. And so I don't want to be boxed in. I want it to be wide open the way that I do it. So I can copy my buyer thing, but then I can tweak it, and then it's just that person's, it's going to have to be that way. I mean, I might do, God willing, 50 deals a year, and they will all be wildly different. I'm not doing 5,000, so I don't need it to be cranked through it. I need it to be this. I need it to be highly customizable to the individual client.
Yes. Yep.
Are there common questions people are asking you guys all of the time that are a little bit outside of it's like related to what you do, but it's not really part of why you're getting paid? They just trust you. Like, I'm thinking like, hey, Matt, do you know a guy who does electric? You know a guy who does this or that? You know, like what are those common questions where you're like, oh man, if I could just answer that one time in one place and shoot someone a link and never have
Absolutely.
that again. What are those things for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we try to give people a vendor list. And it can include everything from, you know, the in transaction stuff like the inspectors and that kind of thing, but post transaction, you know, here's a great window washer. You know, gosh, there's neighborhood guides, you know, which for newcomer guides, that kind of stuff, how to register to vote, how to change your address. There's so many of those things that, you know, we are like human portals for everything from the maintenance to the psychology of where you're going to live. So I can see that going down lots of avenues, which would be great. And again, customizable to the person, or maybe have some general layers to like my individual, or Brittany and my individual, I don't know what the word is, site, but then customize them again, like Wendy's saying. They're not all, everything is not applicable to every transaction or person. So
yeah, well said, Maggie.
One of the things that Maggie kind of brings up is like when you're answering this question, sometimes the question, one of the questions I get all the time is, what is earnest money? What are you doing with it? Where does it go? You know, why don't I get to hold on to it? What does it mean?
Can I go to
Who's
Nordstrom?
holding on to it? Where is it? Right, that kind of stuff. And the answer to that is there's complex layers to that, right? Because it may depend on who's holding the earnest money. In Maryland, the broker can hold the earnest money, but sometimes we have the title company hold the earnest money. And there's a separate form that goes with that tells the buyer, of course, they don't read it, but it tells them why we have a third party holding on to that. This could answer those questions. And then if you're in your Jauntboard and you click on earnest money, you can decide who it's being held by and show that to them. I think automation too on the back end of the process is going to be huge. Wendy mentioned it earlier, getting our settlement documents to all of our clients. So that's something that after the turn of the new year, I go through all my deals, make sure I can find an electronic version of it, and that gets right to my client. And it does two things: gets their tax papers ready and puts me top of mind again, right? Beginning of the year. But that fades away in February, maybe, or whenever they get their taxes done. So any of that kind of automation, I think, would be helpful for like top of mind.
Yeah.
Great. And then another question I have for you, it's like, I imagine you help someone buy a house and then they go silent. You know, you don't talk to them for years. And then they come back and they're ready to sell that house and buy a new one. But there are things that maybe in that dark age where you're not talking, there's things that they could be doing to increase the value of their property, to be prepared for selling. You know, what are those types of things, and what could that look like to build out like a helpful guide just to make that future coming back together with you the most powerful? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I think you could talk to people about the parts of their home, you know, whether that be the kitchen, the primary bathroom, you know, different things that maybe they want to keep up to date, you know, that will add a little bit more value to their home when they go to sell. I think like cleaning your air filters every month, you know, simple things like that a lot of people don't think about. I think sort of that post maintenance would be great, you know, making sure you're getting your system serviced every 6 months or as the seasons are changing. Yeah, I think there's a lot that you could put on there to just kind of say after sale maintenance and ways to keep your house up and running, termite, you know, treatment plan, things like that. Those are all great things that a buyer wants to see when they're, you know, purchasing your home. So I think having that already in place would be great.
Yeah. So like, oh, go ahead.
Well, we do something called Neighborhood Watch, and really it's just taking the neighborhood they bought in and doing an MLS search and sending it to them regularly so that each week they're like, oh, here's what's going for sale in my neighborhood. Everybody here knows everybody likes to look through those lists. We're all like the nosy neighbors, but that way it's kind of like letting them know, hey, some stuff is happening here in your neighborhood. And again, keeping you sort of in front of them as best you can.
If there was a guide that, they're like, okay, yeah, I've done my termite thing. I hired someone to like fix my chimney or whatever. Like there are receipts that people, like documentation that people need to bring back to the table to you, right? To be able to like help justify the value of their home or whatever. So if there was a Jauntboard that like really served as a guide over those years and they were like, okay, this is the one place that I'm going to put everything, not that they'll do it, but maybe they will if they're, if that existed, so that when you go to sell the home, all the receipts are there. That would feel really helpful to me as a home.
Yeah, I mean, anytime I'm dealing with a seller who has like a notebook, and they've got like every receipt for everything they've ever done in the house and the manuals and the warranties, it is just like you just want to bow down to their, But creating that for a homeowner, that we could pass on, but I think that's a whole other, just any homeowner. They may not be in the market yet, but it's a value that we bring that we can say to anybody that we know that's even a warm prospect, hey, this is a cool thing that you might find great to organize your stuff at your house. And it's a touch basically for us to, communicate with them.
Right.
I love it.
So what's interesting is like you could definitely do that on an individual level or a company level in your own city. But like that sounds like a guide that you could potentially give to every homeowner in the nation or the world. Not that everyone's going to buy it, but like that seems like a global kind of idea. It's like here's just a really easy way to organize your stuff so you can get the most value out of your home. That a board like that might be an interesting board to build out and say, this costs, I don't know, $10, or $1, whatever you think someone would be willing to pay for that. Run a paid ad behind it, get it out there, see how many people buy it. That something like that could be an interesting way to try to productize your knowledge beyond your limited scope of the city that you serve, potentially.
That's cool. We're at almost at the end of the hour. I was gonna. There's an interesting thing. I was curious about when there are homes for sale in the multiple millions. Is there a phase where you're actually kind of proposing or trying to put a proposal to those kind of to get that sale, and you're actually kind of they're vetting who they want to sell their house? Is that something that happens? Because we do have something where you actually can create a proposal and actually takes your guide and turns it into a proposal set, and then you can add a big deck or video at the top. And then you can send that out to them and be like, hey, this is why I think you should go with our firm. This is what you think you should do. So that's, okay, I'm seeing yeses. So that's also something you can do in Jauntboard that you saw me kind of reach for it in a second. But you can actually create a proposal instead. And you can create, it basically takes this, you can customize it. Again, you can add a big deck at the top or a video, and then you can send that as a link. And now it's the voiceover in the room when you're not there of showing them like, this is why you should go with Wendy, right? For this big deal. This is what I do uniquely. And you're building that trust at such a more personal level, right? So that's another feature of Jauntboards that we didn't touch.
I love that. Yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
Because that's a good way for me to show a million different tasks that I do if I'm going to list your house, but I don't have to type it all in like PDF and send it to you in a PDF or, that sort of thing. Like you just,
you give them the link.
I want you to click on like 6 of them and then get overwhelmed and go, okay, great. Just do it. I don't want to think
Just
about
got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice. Well, so we're at time. If anyone needs to go, I want to give you permission, but I do have one more question. Now, obviously, like I'm a marketer. I know how to, get a product out to the world, but you guys really understand this niche way better than I do. And so any advice for me, if we wanted to get a lot of realtors adopting Jauntboards, like what kind of advice or recommendations do you have for us?
You need to start from the top down. So like top producers, big producers, or bigger teams. It seems like, because it seems like it would really work well for a team. It seems like it would really work well because then the person who was like the top of the team would be able to look in all of them, and there would just be some efficiencies there that would be attractive. So, I mean, I'm thinking like to me, Maggie and Brittany, I mean, this seems like a thing that the city living team should do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Like
I
Mark-
definitely
Or
agree.
per development for them.
Yeah.
You know, per
Oh
development.
gosh, yes, a development. If you are like you're selling
Pullman.
the
Right.
Pullman.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris, he left us, but
Yeah. I mean, this seems like a no-brainer. That's who should be doing it.
Yeah, starting with those people, because they're going to be the ones doing the most transactions, who this is going to be the most beneficial, especially a team. You have multiple people sometimes working on one transaction, and for everyone, not just the client, but all the moving parts and people to be on the same page and know where everyone is at. I think that's great. I know, like, you know, I'm trying to think of the names of them, but like Teams or something, not Teams, I can't remember what they're called, but it's different ways that you can track projects.
right.
And they don't really translate to real estate. And so I've kind of fallen off on them because I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. You know, I'm wasting my time doing this. To me, this is so useful because it's not just helping you, it's helping the client and all the people who are involved in the transaction. So yeah, I agree. I think targeting those big groups, big teams, those would be the best people who I think will really get some good benefits from this.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about scale too. And I think there's a lot of agents who need this more than the buyer needs it, because the agents, maybe they're just new, or maybe they just don't do a lot of transactions. I don't know, Wendy, if you have people who maybe do two transactions, they do one, 6 months later, they're like, hey, how do we do that again? Do I need this form? And so I think internally keeping agents on the timeline would be, you know, a way to promote it as well. I think it'd be a big benefit.
Yeah, but for you guys, like that is a good point. Like there are people who don't do a lot, you know, and they don't remember what they're supposed to do. If they see that other people are using it, it's kind of like with, if you're not using .loop and everybody's using .loop, then like, you need to be using .loop, you know?
Right. Or new forms. We get new forms every year. And so the associations come out and tell us all about them. It'd be great just to say, hey, review the new forms, put it out there on their Jauntboard. It pops up for them. They can see it. It replaces the old form, so they're not using the old form, maybe some of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd start top down. I'd like, here's the big people, the people who are doing all the business.
Yep.
And they have the money to pay for the service.
Right.
Right. And in your opinion, though, in your experience, this tool isn't really competing with anything that's like it in your industry. This feels like a new thing.
It's new to me. I mean, like we have, you know, we have a lot of things that touch on aspects of it. Like Kearney Title has Qualia, which is similar. It's project management software, and it tells you where you are on the title side only, you know. So I'm connected into that, and I know what's happening. But sorry, we're across the street from a fire station, y'all. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
But I don't know of anything that does what you've laid out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Too many things that do all the things.
Yeah. And we will be rolling out
pie.
a feature where you can merge processes. So like, I know Christian, you work with him a lot, Wendy. It's like if he had his own process and he could plug into yours. So you're still the owner of the board. You're doing most of the work, but whoop, it's right there. I think it will empower collaboration across different people.
Yeah. Like he could pull in, like he could add the appraisal, you know, if he were on my team in the board. He could add, you know, all kinds of things. So like, oh, clear to close. Here it is. You know, things like that. And that would be super helpful.
Okay. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. If you have any other, you know, thoughts and, you know, as you're falling asleep tonight, just shoot me a text or email tomorrow. But I very much appreciate all of the insights you gave us today. I'm excited to keep exploring this.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much.
Awesome.
Good meeting everybody.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.